Hello YouTube! My name is Mariah and I am a love and empowerment coach for women. I'm also a Reiki healer, an angelic channel, and just a general intuitive spiritual person. And I have been branching out lately and going more on video. I do a lot of video on Facebook actually. I'll post my account below, feel free to add me. I do a lot of good stuff there. And, the next logical step is YouTube, of course. And I've been meaning to start a YouTube video for a long time, but I didn't really know what to do. And then I had a vision of this title and, the topic that I needed to talk about. And this is a topic that other law of attraction gurus don't talk about, at least fast enough, in my opinion. And it's something that would have been very useful for me to know in the beginning of my law of attraction journey. And it's basically that you have to do the shadow work. That's it. You have to do the inner work first before you can actually manifest your wildest dreams and goals. Because chances are, if you haven't done that inner work, you don't even know what your wildest dreams and goals are. You're just thinking about, manifesting money for money and manifesting a big house to have a big house. And yes, these things are possible to do without doing the inner work first, but it's not going to feel very good just because you have this thing now. You haven't, healed the parts of you inside that are ready to receive that and ready to love that and ready to just fully be in that. And so just to share a little bit of my own story, I have been into the law of attraction for a number of years now. Beginning in 2016, 2017 is when I first really started getting into it. And, I was feeling good. Everything was awesome. I was positive. I was, nailing my time in school. I got an A grade on my master's thesis, which was awesome. I had a few friendships fall away, which I just understood as, kind of letting go of people that were holding me back. That was fine. And, I was feeling awesome. So awesome and positive that I went to go backpack by myself in Europe. And I was in Spain and then I ended up in Greece. And, that's when it really hit the fan. I ended up walking into a toxic and manipulative relationship with a man who was way too old for me. And, during that time, I was really faced with all of the dark parts of myself. I was faced with my perfectionism issues. I was faced with my eating disorder that got a little bit out of control there. I was faced with my substance abuse issues, my need to be in control, all of these icky parts of myself that I usually try to repress. Suddenly they were in my face. And I walked into a relationship that reflected that back to me. I was insecure about my intelligence, and my ex would tell me that I wasn't smart enough. I was insecure about my body weight, and then my ex would tell me that I couldn't gain any weight. And these were things that I was repeating in my head before I even met him. And then suddenly, I just walked into a reflection of my insecurities and my limiting beliefs and the things that were holding me back that were repeating in my own head. And, it wasn't until I escaped that relationship, thank God, and eventually came home isolated, scared, horrified, uncomfortable, all of those words, that I finally started to do the inner work. I finally was like, okay, there's nobody else around me. I've lost all my friends. I don't know what to do. I'm safe, and I was at my mom's house, and that was really good. But suddenly it was just me. And so I took that opportunity to dig deep into why I got into that relationship in the first place and how I let that happen. And this is super, super important, not even in relationships, just about breaking your cycles. And, you know, I have been in a series of not romantic relationships. That's the only other romantic relationship that I've been in other than mine now. But friendships, I was in cycle after cycle after cycle of just different relationships where I trusted the other person more than I trusted myself, and I didn't know how to trust myself, essentially. And so that was one of the big breakthroughs that I had once I made that space for myself to really reflect on how I ended up in that relationship and how I let all of those icky parts of me surface. And, you know, the biggest thing that I asked myself was, okay, if I have this issue, say it's an eating disorder, where does that come from? And that's really all that shadow work is. And that's all that the inner work is. And I think people get scared and intimidated because they're scared and intimidated of themselves. But it's not scary. It's just you. And, you know, once you can identify these kind of really big, like, looming things of, you know, maybe for you it's the need for control. So you need to be in control of every situation, and just ask yourself, where does that come from? That's it. And sit in silence for a little bit, or do some meditation, or do some journaling, and just kind of allow yourself to think, okay, if I have control issues, where does that come from? If I have control issues, that probably means that I feel like I'm out of control. Why do I feel like I'm out of control? Where does that come from? And chances are it comes from your childhood. And in my own example, I deal a lot with perfectionism. And just by asking myself, okay, where does that come from? Okay, what does that stem from? I was able to go back and into my childhood and kind of think, okay, you know, my perfectionism comes from the need to achieve, because I felt like if I didn't achieve, I wasn't seen by my parents, essentially. And then, you know, you can sit with that feeling of, you know, that feeling from your childhood. And it really is just a feeling. And, you know, even if you've dealt with like real trauma and abuse, you know, that feeling was real for you, and now you've created these layers to protect yourself, and that makes sense. But these layers can be taken away because, you know, you're not in that situation anymore, you've moved on. And by taking away those layers and understanding that, you know, it's just a feeling that you felt and that you've been repeating to yourself. And in my own example, you know, my parents never meant that, right? They never meant to make me feel that, but it was something that I felt in my childhood. And when you're a child, you probably don't know how to express yourself properly. And so then it stays internalized. It stays here in your core, in your solar plexus chakra, actually. It stays here, and it'll, you know, turn into shame. It'll turn into guilt. It'll just snowball into a narrative that you've been repeating to yourself if you don't access it. If you don't get at that original place where it started, then it's gonna look like this big. But if you can take this big and get down to that little itty bitty thing, and then you'll understand that, you know, okay, that's not so bad. It's just the narrative that I've been repeating to myself. How can I change that narrative now to move me forward in life? And, you know, if I had learned this in the beginning of my law of attraction journey, when I was on YouTube all the time, just taking in information, you know, I think that would have really changed some stuff for me. And, you know, everything happens for a reason. I don't regret anything that I've been through. It's allowed me to come here and, you know, do what I do for work and help other women get through these toxic relationships and come back to healing themselves. And, you know, by doing that inner work after my own toxic relationship, I was able to do so much healing because I had that space and I was able to do the shadow work. And, you know, as soon as I had got through a large chunk of that, I was manifesting like crazy. I manifested my relationship now, which is amazing and healthy and so expansive and so loving. And, you know, I manifested travel. I manifested, I'm living in Mexico right now. I'm in a beautiful city. My manifestations just come through a lot easier. Also because I'm a lot clearer on what I want. And that's huge about doing the inner work, is that you have these layers that you've placed on top of yourself, yes, but what's underneath is you. And if you're not able to get down to that core part of you, you probably don't understand why you're actually here and what your purpose is and what you love to do and your desires and all that stuff, because that comes from your soul, and your soul has been heavily covered by the garbage that you've been telling yourself. And I know this because this is what it was like for me, and it's what it was like for a lot of different people that I've talked to. And it's just about removing that garbage, changing it into something that is going to lift you up and move you forward, and then, you know, digging in deep to what you really want and why you're really here. And if I didn't do the inner work and the shadow work, I would not be here right now. I wouldn't have the relationship that I have. I wouldn't, you know, be traveling. I wouldn't be doing this video, all that stuff. That comes from that inner knowing, that inner place of accessing, like just accessing and not being afraid of you, and doing the inner work and allowing that to come through. And it's super, super important. And so I just wanted to share this because it's what people need to do, and it's what you need to know. And you know, this can be done while you're manifesting as well. You can still have those goals and those affirmations and manifestations while also doing the inner work that's a little bit difficult, but so amazing once you get through it. So I have a blog post about this actually that has a little exercise at the end of it that if you're new to shadow work, I'm sure you will love. So check that down below. Remember to subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be doing more videos now. Woohoo! Like this video if you like it. If you don't, you can click away. But yeah, I just wanted to come on and share that. I also wanted to mention that I have an amazing Love Empress community on Facebook, which is for women who are dealing with similar situations that I have dealt with myself, with, you know, coming out of a toxic relationship or not knowing how to heal yourself, and wanting to manifest love and all that good stuff. It's basically just all about love, and there's amazing ladies in there, and I would love to have you there, so I will include a link for that below. And yeah, that's all I have to say. I want to wish you guys a very, very awesome day whenever you're watching this. Feel free, if you have any questions for me, to comment them below and I will get to them, or you can DM me on Instagram or Facebook. I'll include that below as well. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again later.